There, now you go.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Seattle King County Continuum Care Board regular meeting for June 5th, 2024. Time now is 2:02. Sorry, we're starting a couple of minutes late. Why don't we jump right in? Alex, you want to do a roll call?
Yep, starting roll call. When I call your name, please say here. Patricia Sam.
Present.
Tamara Bauman.
Here.
Kenyatta Carol Hillman. Lise Castro is here. Present. Jaja Floyd, not here. Marvin Futrell.
Here.
Antoinette Lambert. Dorsal Plants.
Present.
Ruby Romero.
Present.
Martha Sassarosi.
Present.
Christina Sawicki. I see Christina. Sherry Tillman. Great, with 8 members present, quorum is met.
Thank you. Like to start off with the land acknowledgement, and I heard a beautiful land acknowledgement at our convening, and I was wondering if Dr. Sam would happily give it again, both parts. You're muted. I think you're muted.
Let me unmute her.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Dr. Sam, CLC board member. Our land acknowledge. We acknowledge that King County is located on the unceded traditional land of the Duwamish people and the Coast Salish tribes. We honor the land and its people past and present, and we are committed to directing funding and resources to organizations led by and in support of Native and Indigenous people. And I also would like to add, I'm ad-libbing, that I also bring into this space my African-American, Black, BIPOC brothers and sisters who were enslaved and built this country as we know it. And I would like to add that in the work we do, that I hope that we'll continue to work towards healing and to continue the process of healing in our individual, family, communities, and abroad.
Thank you.
Our theory of change reads, if we create a homeless response system that centers the voices of people with lived experience in homelessness, then we can focus on responding to the needs and eliminating inequities in homelessness.
Thank you, Dr. Sam. I would like to highlight that when we were meeting last on May 1st, the Women's Housing Equity and Enhancement League's group, Women in Black, was standing vigil following our meeting in Burien. I think if we're to be aligned as a regional response system, we have to acknowledge when folks pass for not necessarily lack of response, but maybe the response hasn't reached them yet. They stood vigil from 5 to 6 p.m. and they stood for 25 folks who had died in Burien. I didn't say 25 folks that died in the county, 25 folks that died in Burien. And if we are unable to ensure that a sense of urgency comes with our work, we will continue to lose people before we can actually help them. Thank you for that moment. I'd like to call for a moment of silence. And someone let me know when the minutes are. All righty, moving back to our agenda. I want to pass it to Trayvon. Is he with us today?
No, I'm sorry, he's not. And neither is Lacey.
So we do have, we have new board members joining us. I believe there will be a welcome next month.
Yes.
Yes, so I won't feel too bad of pushing us past this piece. Moving on to our first vote. If everyone saw and understood May 1st regular meeting and the May 22nd special meeting minutes, I'll accept a motion to accept.
I second Patricia, COC board member.
I make a motion to accept.
Thank you, Ruby. All right. Any discussion, folks? Yes. Alex, will you do a roll call?
Dorsal, can I do roll call or do you have a question before that?
I apologize, but Ruby broke up. I'm not clear what the motion on the floor is.
Oh, the motion was to approve the May 1st meeting minutes
And the May
And May
22nd
and the May
special.
22nd special meeting minutes.
Got it. Okay.
All right, please say your
Yay or nay?
yay or nay when I call your name. Thank you. Patricia Sam.
Yay.
Thank you. Tamara Bauman.
Yay.
Kenyatta Carol Hillman. Please Castro.
Oh, she's in the
I'm
chat.
watching the chat. Hey, okay. Jaja Floyd, no. Marvin Patrell.
Yeah.
Antoinette Lambert.
No.
No. Dorsal Plants.
Aye.
Ruby Romero.
Accept.
Martha Sassarossi.
Yay.
Christina Sawicki. Yes, in the chat. Sherry Tillman.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is approved.
Thank you.
9. Do we just want to hop into the 22nd one?
No, it was both.
Oh, that was both.
Yes.
Okay.
I want to send a reminder out for the board. There are minutes from our special meeting, May 29th, that we will need to review. 28th. Thank you. And if it's my understanding, there are no minutes for the convening. However, I encourage everybody to watch, review it because it was excellent. There was a lot of good work done with our Continuum present. So I'm going to hand the meeting over to Kelsey, who will tell us more.
I don't have to unmute myself.
That's
Just
right.
waiting to do that. So I wanted to give just an update to, in this space regarding the board COC nomination results. Those went out on Monday. There were 8 new board members who were elected to the board meeting the threshold as outlined in the COC governance charter of having 60% or a supermajority of the vote of those voting affirm their nomination to the board. Those 8 members, some of them are here in attendance today and will be officially joining on the July 3rd meeting. And those members are T.D. White, Elizabeth Maupin, Amaya Lenore, Victor Liu, Amy Thomas, Bella Irons, and then Christina Sawicki and Tamara Bauman were board members who were also rejoining. So we will be welcoming all 8 of those members to our July meeting. We will also be doing onboarding for new board members through June. We will be reaching out and coordinating that with them over the next few weeks to get folks ready and up to speed being a new board member on the COC board. A couple of things that also came up from the convening were some next steps regarding the remaining board seats. So there are 3 remaining open board seats, and the determination from the COC convening from the COC membership was to open the COC charter to review the, sorry, I'm recovering from a cold, so I'm getting a little bit winded. To open the charter to review 3 things. So the 3 things that will be reviewed by a work group to review the charter. It will be reviewing term limits for current board members, reviewing and clarifying just the overall selection process and providing some more clarity on what that looks like, and then providing clarity regarding ability to do nominations from the floor at the COC convening. So those are all pieces that will be opened up through a COC charter work group that board members and COC members will be a part of. We will be putting up a application to join that in the coming probably days. Hi, Ruby. So that folks can be a part of that with the hope to review the pardon me, review the charter. Once the charter is then voted and amended by the COC membership, those 3 seats will then be reopened for oh my goodness, for consideration in the revised selection process. Yeah, so we are looking forward to the board and COC membership kind of diving into that work in order to get more people on the COC board. Yeah.
Thank you, Kelsey.
You're welcome.
And I noted that there's due diligence of capturing Q&A in the chat. And as always, we will make sure we post those answers.
Yes.
Thank
The
you.
parking lot.
Well, Ruby,
Hello.
I'm going to actually pass the meeting over to you. We're at the point on the agenda for the
Oh, yes.
updates.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, I appreciate that. Let me pull up, and I also have Christina on the line. Oh, wait, I see Dorsal's hand.
Dorsal?
I was gonna say, can we talk about the previous agenda item before moving forward?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
any
didn't see that.
questions?
Thank you.
I want to be very careful because it's less a question and more a concern. And I want to start by acknowledging that I do feel that KCRHA staff has been doing an amazing job of communicating, but there were a couple of emails regarding this process that raised some concerns that I didn't see answers to, around kind of transparency and changes to this process. There was also at one point an email survey vote that was sent to me with a deadline, but by the time I had become aware that there was a survey vote that was being done electronically, the deadline had already passed. And I'm not even sure we really can do that. And so I want to raise the concern that I feel like the process was not very transparent. And yeah, I felt like it was moved very quickly to meet the goal of filling seats without allowing full due diligence. Thank you.
Yep, and can I ask a clarifying question, Dorsal? Was it the
Yes.
survey to vote for the board members?
Yes.
Got it. So it was at the convening that we spoke about the deadline for voting on the board, that we would create it and send it out to give folks 48 hours to vote. And because it was supposed to happen at the convening, and the decision of the COC membership at the convening was to move forward with the 9 candidates that completed the selection process as outlined, in order to move and have board seats. One of the reasons is due to, had the candidates not moved forward, the board would have been a 6-member board until the charter was revised and a new selection process. So the COC membership voted to move forward with a vote. And because it was supposed to be at the convening, it was switched to be a poll that would be open for 48 hours. And this was all discussed at the convening with the convening membership. And then the email to vote was sent out to everyone with that deadline to vote. Because we had initially that voting would happen at the convening between 10:30 and 12 p.m. So that is where that comes from.
May I add? Originally, the ballot selection should have happened May 22nd. It did not. We did not confirm the ballot until May 28th. So that 6 days was not part of a review time for the Continuum to see. But the rest, I think Kelsey has described accurately. I don't want to miss the point that not having ratified the ballot in the 22nd meeting minutes, we couldn't put it out there or put it forth for Continuum of folks to vote until we met again on the 28th.
Yeah, and I will say there was a really fruitful, robust conversation at the convening, and I welcome others to ask questions as well if there are more questions.
See Christina's hand.
Christina?
Go ahead.
Board member Sawicki? Yes. Can she not hear me? Christina?
Christina, we see you.
So, I have a question which I'm still not clear on. Why do we not take minutes or notes during convenings? That, I guess, has been mentioned a couple of and asked.
Yep.
I know what we don't take notes of, like the presentations, like we wouldn't have like like what he said for OCR and for the DV person, but in general, why, for the other stuff, why didn't we have notes?
We do have notes, and a summary of all of the motions and voting has been created. We don't take detailed minutes at a convening. It is usually a convening with training, but we do have notes and a summary with the motions that were brought forth as well as the vote results. So we do have that, and I want to.
And the convening is posted.
And the convening information is posted. It's on the June 5th link. We are moving that there were, because there were two special meetings and the convening, there were some just crosshairs with getting things posted in the correct places. So we'll coordinate with our communications team to make sure the materials are under the correct meeting heading on the website. So those will get updated, but everything is up online with those notes. Let me confirm that the motion information is also there. As I don't have it in front of me, I'm gonna open up and get it in front of me on the website.
And there's also the YouTube video that has the card caption.
Yep, and the YouTube video with the captioning is up there. So we will get all of those pieces under the convening section. Yeah, and then I sent out broadly to the COC membership with the announcements of the elected board members, a summary document as well of the motions. So that was also sent out to the membership on Monday when we finalized the results. Other questions?
Yeah, OCRA's Office of Civil Rights, yes.
Yes. Awesome, and just a huge thank you to everyone who applied to the board. And for those who were not elected this round, we will have 3 other seats coming up, and welcome the Continuum to bring in more folks.
Well, I'm gonna leave that up to Ruby because she's next up on the agenda.
Yeah, that's fine. I see Sherry's hand before we move on.
Also, there's a hand in the chat.
There's a
Yes. Brad, can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to get clarity around the okay, so we're gonna change we are changing the charter, or going back, or updating, or adding to the charter on, the time limit of continued board member, correct? So I guess I'm a little confused because we did the nominations with already the continued board members that, you know what I'm saying? So I guess I'm kind of confused that we're waiting on the other 3 because we have to do the charter, but we already still voted the other 2 in. So I don't know, can you explain that?
Yep, I'm happy to clarify. Yep, Sherry, I am happy to clarify. So there are 5 currently seated board members who applied, whose terms are ending. 3 board members reapplied to the board before May 3rd. In the review of applications that the selection committee did, 2 of those board members ended up being moved forward for phone interviews. 2 of the board members who are exiting, their applications were not in by the May 3rd deadline. Any exiting board member, seeing what the membership decides in the charter revision, and what term limits there may be, would be welcome to also reapply pending what the charter says. I don't know what that will be. I am not in charge of that process. That is up to the COC membership. But those, as the charter is now, should that stay in that the term limits allow for reapplication, then anyone whose term is ending and did not get reaffirmed to the board is what would be welcome to reapply to the board.
Okay.
We haven't done public comment yet, so
Yeah, we
I
should
am
do
going to pass it on to you for the
Okay.
ADA update so that folks can speak to any of the 3.
Okay, yeah, so we're gonna, so I see that Trayvon's on the call, and we're gonna make sure that we touch in with the, as soon as we wrap up the ADA update, but we're gonna go into we're gonna go into public comment after the ADA. Is that correct? Okay.
Before the.
Before the ADA, okay, so we're gonna go into public comment now, after the ADA update, that's what I
Correct.
thought, okay.
Okay.
So clarifying, right now, we're gonna go into the ADA update, for now, and me and Christina are gonna handle that, then we're gonna go into public comment, and then we'll follow up with the YAB, we're gonna move that down on the agenda, right?
Well, when you finish the 8A comments, pass it back to me. I'll probably hand it over to Trayvon, and then I'll open up public comment.
Even better, sounds great, so we see your hands, and we will get to you in just a second. So I wanted to pass it over to Christina to give some reference on the ADA laws, just to give some background on it. Christina. So it's the Americans with Disabilities Act. Did you want to speak to it at all, Christina? The actual language on that? So the American with Disabilities Act requires state and local governments to make sure that their services, programs, and activities are accessible to people with disabilities. Title II applies to all services, programs, or activities of state and local governments, from adoption services to zoning regulation. This includes the services, programs, and activities that state and local governments offer online through mobile apps, and includes participation in planning activities such as committees and boards of public agencies. So we wanted to provide some context surrounding the previous discussions without disclosing any specific information in regards to when, whom, or what was requested. In April, board members received an email from KCRHA staff to acknowledge requests were made and also provide actions implemented immediately or provided the status of the action. So as per the email, KCRHA will be inviting an outside or impartial partner entity to evaluate the disability services and ADA compliance for COC board members. And the update on that is that the process has started, but it's not to the stage where we could provide an accurate timeline on completion. Then as per the email we received, that the KCRHA will seek to increase internal staffing capacity to respond to and address ADA accommodation requests from COC board members and align COC working groups and committees. Update is that in early March, the KCRHA was able to approve CART services to be provided at all COC board meetings, and this service began in March and has been a standard procedure at every COC board meeting since, sorry. You divert a little bit off of your thing and it messes the whole thing up, right? Anyway, so the email also stated that the KCRHA will submit a request to add an ADA coordinator position through the fiscal year 2025 City of Seattle budgeting process. And the update is that that it is currently enacted, meaning that there's a KCRHA staff member who will receive their certification after completing the required courses before 2025. And I also wanted to state that I'm not a representative of the actions taken, nor have I been involved in any of the conversations except for receiving the updates or requests. And I've not requested any accommodation, so I can't speak to the matter. And I did want to hand it off to Christina if they had anything to say. But I don't know. They are traveling.
Christina, no, Christina.
Christina's ready,
Do
done?
you wanna
When
come
my
up?
turn.
Oh, let me unmute you. Give me 1 second. She can ask to unmute.
You have to
There we go.
unmute.
There
I
you
am a certified ADA coordinator and I have been one for many, many years. And so Ruby did an excellent job explaining everything. And there is really no reason to hash what has gone on in the past, but to look forward and go forward. Catherine is doing a fantastic job in seeking out training and moving forward with getting her certification, for which we are very eternally grateful for. And we will have an ADA person in that position soon enough. I am very grateful to see that KCRHA is moving forward in this position and in getting ADA, moving forward and getting accommodations, for reasonable accommodations for those who need it. And as I'm going to always say, if anybody on here or if anybody knows of somebody who needs reasonable accommodations, please reach out to Catherine, request those accommodations, and hopefully I know in the future, I plan on working with Catherine to get something in writing to state how we can request accommodation in a reasonable format so that, KCRJ can be prepared and ready to provide that. In addition, anybody on this call can, go for and get free training on how to become either a certified ADA coordinator or to get even any information about the ADA and the Section 504, which revolves around the federal government, or Section 508, which is around internet as well as computer-based software services, et cetera. And so I'm grateful that we're moving forward in this fashion. And I, ask that we respect and move forward. Galena has closed the door and we need to move forward. And I am grateful that since Catherine has been here, Catherine has worked really hard at meeting my accommodation, as well as Alex has as well, needs for myself. So I am very blessed for that. And if anybody has any questions about accommodations or on this issue, please reach out. And I also want to put a plug in. City of Seattle is always looking, and the state of Washington is looking for individuals to serve on the disability communities. And so please seek those. They're also looking for the behavioral health committees, both at the state level and as the local level. So there are many spots for people to become involved with disability level advocacy across the cities, county, and the state of Washington. So if anybody has any questions, please reach out. And yes, it is Catherine Todd, and Miss Elizabeth will put her full information in the chat for you to reach out to Catherine. So thank you guys very much. And thank you for allowing me to share that.
Thank you,
And
Christine.
Alex, please mute me again because I don't know how.
I
Can I
gotcha.
add something to that?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Hi, this is Catherine, and Christina, thank you so much. And it's been an absolute pleasure working alongside you and learning from you. So I really do appreciate you. I am in the process of adding ADA request form to the packet that I'm creating for all the new board members. And it will be in the binder that we will be providing to everybody. So that's in progress as well.
That's great to hear.
And for those who may not know you as well as we do, what is your role?
I'm the COC coordinator. Thank you, Marvin. Yeah. And Elizabeth, I do have your information. So I am happy to work with you on this as well.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that follow-up, and I'll hand it back over to Marvin.
Absolutely. And I'd like to move along in the agenda. We're going to actually be backing up just a little bit. I want to pass it over to Trayvon for a welcoming.
Hey, hello. Can you guys hear me?
Hey, we can hear you.
Hey, perfect. Hello. I don't know why my camera's not on, but I am here to give a warm welcoming to Lacey Morgan, who has recently been voted on to the King County COC board. Again, my name is Trayvon Fields, and I am the Youth and Young Adult Program Specialist. Yeah, and I just want to take this opportunity to welcome Lacey Morgan to the COC board. Lacey Morgan has been an integral part of the Youth Action Board. Not only was she there from the very beginning, she like with that came with her being there in the beginning, she was amazing with recruiting and also offering and helping with the structure that now supports the Youth Action Board. Um, I can't think of a better Youth Action Board member to represent the YAB on the COC board for that reason. Lacey Morgan is a amazing advocate who not only advocates for youth and young adults and young single mothers, but any age, any person who is going through a hardship, Lacey Morgan has no problem going to bat for them and advocating for them, which is why I think Lacey Morgan is a great addition to the COC board. And with that, I want to say thank you, Lacey, for all your hard work and congratulations on your COC board seat. With that being said, I would love to give you all a Youth Action Board update given by a Youth Action Board member themselves. So I'm going to pass the floor to Caitlin Agason, who is the Youth Action Board's president, and she's going to give you an update about what the YAB's been up to, the King County Youth Action Board, better than I could. So without further ado, Caitlin, would you mind? The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
So,
Hello.
hi, my name is Caitlin Atkinson, and I am the president of the King County Youth Action Board. Today, I'm going to be bringing you our updates. One of the major focuses of the YAB is improving our internal operations. And one example of how the YAB does this is how we've had votes where YAB members vote other YAB members to represent them. Like how I am the president of the YAB, Shadiman is the vice president, and Lacey is now part of the COC board, which I want to congratulate Lacey as well on her board position. We were all appointed by YAB members to represent not only the YAB, but also King County's homeless youth and young adults. And that's why we've been working so hard to build the Youth Action Board and take this work incredibly seriously. Another focus of the Youth Action Board has been the youth and young adult convening. We have been so excitedly working on this event for a very long time, and its main goal is to bring our community together and learn not only about our service providers, but the youth and young adults that we are serving. We want to be able to educate, entertain, and learn of the insight of our youth and what they have to say about how we can improve King County services for them. The YAB is working diligently to solidify a date and venue for this event, and we hope to bring these to you shortly. Thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to updating you once again at the next meeting.
Thank you very much. At this point in time, we're going to enter into our segment of the agendas for public comment. I will offer maybe my last disclaimer. We want to hear from our continuum and our public. Our public comment is open throughout the meeting. Outside of the next 10, 15 minutes or so, please place comments in the chat and we will respond and also post answers to questions or chat that's given.
Yep. 5 minutes.
Oh, but I don't have them. I didn't. I'm sorry. Oh, do I have them?
For what?
I don't have. I want to offer. This is just as a chair. I want to offer that we want to learn and hear how we're doing, so we can address any issues. When people speak, we will respond. I'm going to ask that folks feel free in giving their public comment, and the advisory committee or the Continuum of Care Board agreements read it thus. If they're not posted on our website, we should make sure that they are soon. 1, respond versus react. Listen with an open mind, listen to understand, practice unconditional positive regard, focus on the singleness of purpose, respect, cultivate, nurture authentic space, speak your truth. Experience discomfort by allowing ourselves to be called in. Challenge the status quo. Meet people where they are, including people's space and style. Agree that everyone is a leader, prioritize relationships over accomplishments, operate with a sense of urgency. I think that was the time. So at this point in time, I want to open up public comment. I know, I see at least 2 hands.
Yes.
3.
Nice. Oh, sorry. Okay, moving. Harold, I'm moving you over. Harold, and then Jade, and then Elizabeth Moffat.
So am I speaking right now?
Hey, Harold. Yep.
Yes, we can hear you.
So I appreciate what everybody's done, but there's a lot of confusion. At the convening, equity was mentioned by the members and by the board, that how this process of getting members onto the board has changed 3 different times since I've been involved from the inception of KCRHA. It seems from the memo from Jan Osaka to Mark Jones, from Mark Jones to Jan Osaka, wait till they age out or wait till their terms are over, find a way of getting our own block into that. I have the memo. I will leak it out to you. You can see it. When is this going to be? Stop having processes to stop the work from the COC board. The COC board is a critical insight into how homelessness and how service providers and the CO board can work together and get processes going. It seems to me that a lot of people, or let's say a few people, are doing things to prevent that and getting it back to the standard quo. KCRHA is a trailblazer that should be leading the homeless challenge, not going back to an old way that we know that does not work. Because if we had worked, all the best minds and everything, we'd be in a whole different situation than we are now. We don't have a continuum of care where it goes continuously and we have positive outcomes. And that scares me, because what are we doing? Voting members off to get another voice in? If you remember in 2019, we said we weren't going to have service providers at the head of any type of board except for the governance board. That would be the only politician. The rest is going to be done differently. And has anybody read the theory of change? Because we're not doing the theory of change. We're not bringing people in. I hear a lot of decision making from people or staff, and they're picking who's coming in, but I don't hear it from the people. What we said, if you're going to build something new, bring those people who are most affected, who are out there, to the table, not the planning, decision, implementing, all the tables. But we're getting away from that, and I don't know why. Because if we are, it doesn't seem why we're having this. We should just burn it down, give the money back. Well, Seattle's taking the money back and back to King County and go with the health through housing, because that's a much better program. They have their stuff together. This one is not. It's slowly dying out, and that's sad to see. I wish the board would take a lot more of its initiative and control the situation. That's my thoughts. And we called it, Jonathan was going to go to work for KCRHA when they made him that offer a year and a half ago, and that's documented because there's 3 YABs within Washington State, and they don't coincide. And they've been working on this for over 3 years to bring something to the table. Burn it down, because they're not doing a good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harold. Next, for public comment.
So moving Jade over now. Jade, you're on.
Thank you so much. Thank you, board members. I have to just uplift everything that Harold just said. Oh, let me back myself up. Sorry. My name is Jade Weiss. I'm a member of the Continuum of Care. I was recently on the ballot for the COC nominations, although this is not why I'm making this comment today. I just really have to raise the question of how this ballot was in any way legitimate, because it's in direct violation of the charter. It says that an ad hoc selection committee of at least 3 COC board members will be on the selection committee, and they'll make recommendations. So not only were there only 2 COC board members involved in this application or selection process on the selection committee, but they're also only allowed to make recommendations. They don't make full nominations. A recommendation is a suggestion, it's an endorsement. Therefore, all 20 of the applicants who applied should have been considered, at least move forward to the interview process. But like I said, even if they had been, there was only 2 board members involved in this process. So therefore, the process was not in alignment with the guidelines and per the Code of Federal Regulations that mandates the COC operations. It is pretty vague, but it does state that the COC and the board is to create a charter and then follow that charter. This charter was not followed with regard to the selection committee process and the nominations of votes of these board members, outside of what I believe, however, the YAB, because that's an actual appointment. So, you know, Lacey, this is not personal to you, or it's not personal to anybody, as a matter of fact. I unfortunately have seen from day one, again, I was the first staff hired at KCRHA after Mark Dones. I have been trying to be by the book, by the theory of change, by the ILA and the charter from day one. And people like me have been consistently pushed out, framed as problematic, framed as unhealthy, and framed in any other way than what the truth is. I would love to have a convening that supports what Harold mentioned, firing the KCRHA as our host, as well as picking up a new one. Health Through Housing, King County Health Through Housing is a great option. I believe I would support that as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Jade. Alex, do we have anyone else for public comment?
Yes, we have Elizabeth Moffin. Hey, Elizabeth, you are on now.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I will try not to cough too much. I had heard that you used the process of consensus, but in reading the governance charter, the only place I saw any reference to that is on page 5.2 under decision-making and authority B section. It says, in cases where consensus cannot be reached, the Continuum of Care Board will resort to Robert's Rules of Order with the requirement of a supermajority vote of 60% of those present for the item on the table. And my question is, since you mentioned voting frequently and consensus only once, has the board had any training in the process of consensus? And would the board be open to such training?
Yes, the board would be open to such training. Training for our board has been done, I will say now, over the last 4 years. The first group that gave us our training was a HUD technical assistance group for the first iteration of our board that I joined didn't have a continuum or lead agency when we started. It was the formation of the KCRHA that adopted a more structured piece, and we received some training of our different roles. One as a Continuum of Care Board, the second as an advisory committee to continue to help the implementation and governing boards direct process. Till today, where folks have adopted a charter that fully cements our COC work and our advisory work with our continuum of our body of membership that make up our continuum of care. So I think we've done it in 3 different spaces, but ongoing work is always needed. And I think I don't know if it's in the work plan, but I know it is something that we have now discussed at several opportunities of incorporating for the board members. Thank you. Are there anyone else for public comment?
Yeah. Sorry, I just moved away from the page. Give me 1 Harold has his hand up, but I'm
I
not
think he already spoke.
Yeah, he spoke, yeah.
So if there's no other public comment at this time, I'd like to offer that we will take comment till the end of our meeting. The responses to May's parking lot questions, and that's an overly generous term to all of the questions and all of the question and answers that are asked during our meetings are posted on the website before the next regular meeting. Once again, if more information is needed, reach out to Catherine Todd, our Continuum of Care coordinator here at the KCRHA.
I think I see Patricia's hand.
Dr. Sam?
Hi. Dr. Sam, COC board member. I was looking at the chat, the question and answer. There are some comments in there. Are those are the comments considered questions and answers? Do we read them? I haven't heard them being read and addressed.
We don't read them within the meeting because we can never determine how long the question, answer, or chat will be. We will answer questions and post comments on our website before each of the parking lot for before the next regular meeting, so that we don't create a backlog for ourselves. Did that answer the question?
Some of them are being answered in real time, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But we still capturing
Oh, we're
those.
still capturing them and they will still be posted.
Yes.
The ones that we can't answer right now, we're answering as we can go, but.
So not all of them get answered on the parking lot if they're answered in real time. Oh, okay, yeah, thanks for clarifying. Then the other ones get answered.
Well, we'll take care of that. Can we, I'm gonna jump back into this agenda because for transparency purposes, anything spoken or comment made in this meeting, we either respond to or we share. Otherwise, we lose the trust of our community. All righty. Up next, is Daniel? Is Daniel Ramos with us? Yeah, he is. I'm going to pass this to Daniel Ramos. We're looking, I believe this section is the point in time count and the housing inventory count review.
Let me just make sure.
Yes, it is. Thank you,
Alright.
Marcel. Oh, excuse me, Marvin.
It's okay. Okay. Presentation.
Get the slides up.
Yep. So many tabs. Okay. Give me 1 second. Let me just share my screen. Can you all see my screen?
That looks good on my end. Thank you, Alec. Great. Okay. I first just want to say thank you for everyone who made time today to come to this board meeting and for carving out to I want to thank the board, members of the public who are here today, and KCRHA staff for giving me time on the agenda to give you the 2024 HIC and PIT initial results. My name is Daniel Ramos. I'm with the King County Regional Homeless Authority, he, him. I am the data asset manager and HMIS lead for the organization. Thank you. And next slide. So today's agenda, I have roughly 20 minutes to go through this. There was a lot more data, I'll just say that, than what's in this initial presentation. But today is going to be the top line counts that you get from both the point in time and the housing inventory count. I want to be able to, my objective is to orient you to the methodologies on how we collect that information, and then get right into the counts and the figures so that you can sort of see those initial figures. And so here we go. Why does it matter? The point in time count is a federally mandated report that is required of KCRHA as the COC collaborative applicant and as the HMIS lead agency. So it is a requirement from the funding that we receive to conduct this. We conduct this yearly for those staying in shelters, and then biannually for those who are unsheltered. And I'll get into definitions a little bit later if you're not familiar with those terms. This is a snapshot, and there are lots of other reports that we do regularly. And this one in particular looks at a period on one night at the end of January and is conducted across the nation. And this year is especially special because we did the unsheltered count, which we haven't done since 2022. So I'm going to start out by showing this slide here, which is how did we do the unsheltered count? The unsheltered count is an effort wherein we interview groups out in the community of those who are unsheltered. We ask them survey questions that are required by HUD to get demographic information and counts of families, individuals, single households, and children-only households. So these are folks who are under 18 who are living either in shelters or in unsheltered locations. So 3 primary categories. And in that process, I'll go through more of the methodology in detail in the next slide, but we are interviewing friends, families, folks who we initially interview to measure that, to start measuring the network. And I'll talk about that. And all interviewees, those that are part of this count for the unsheltered group, were paid $25 for their time and effort and knowledge. And we thank them for that. And we also collaborated with our research and analytics team here in the Community Impact Department at KCRHA and at the University of Washington. And that gives us that work resulted in what you'll see later are the counts, the estimates of those staying on the streets and in unsheltered locations. Next slide, please. So the unsheltered methodology, it is the same methodology that was used in 2022, the respondent-driven sampling. This is a method used to estimate the total number of individuals and households living on the streets and in places not meant for human habitation. This methodology went through an institutional review at the University of Washington. And we took that methodology and improved upon it based on feedback we got in 2022. I cannot stress enough how much this is a community effort that includes a multitude of partners that I could not list off in 20 minutes, experts in the field, and those with lived experience. And all of the providers that worked with us, service providers and organizations. This includes 19 hubs, which I'll talk about here just briefly in a second. This included those hub locations where we were conducting surveys, 19 total. So a special thank you for those hubs who allowed us to do the surveys there. And this could not have been done without the volunteers. We had over 100 volunteers. We had numerous KCRHA staff, and beyond volunteers, we had our partners at the Veterans Administration, as well as just a few volunteers who really came through and it did a lot of hours. So special thank you to them. And then with the hubs, this is part of the improvement process. From last year, we really looked at how to improve access for families. So we set up a family phone line for the first time, working with Mary's Place to cast a wide net and lower barriers for families to be able to call in and do their surveys, with the understanding that having small children or just children in general makes an extra challenge for going to and from a hub to do a survey. And we also focused on having specific hours for female identifying individuals at Aurora Commons. So a special thank you for them, where they could come and be surveyed in a safe space. And then this year we included Vashon Island. Wanted to really have full coverage of the county in these 19 hubs. Thank you to Vashon Island for participating this year so that we could have a larger area to count. One note on respondent-driven sampling, because I don't think we'll have another slide on this. The method here is interviewing one individual, then giving them a referral to 3 other individuals, and requesting that they come back to a hub to do a survey, and then those 3 individuals are given the opportunity to give 3 more referrals. So that grows the network chain, which is used for the estimation of the total count of those unsheltered. Thank you. So the data collection period this year was between January 22nd and February 3rd. For our estimation, we were able to survey for over 1,400 unduplicated individuals. That created our sample for the estimation. We increased the overall number of the representative sample this year, so that is an improvement over last year. And this is an exemption from HUD to do the respondent-driven sampling. So we are really on the innovative side of research, social science research methodologies in the way that we're estimating those experiencing homelessness in the unsheltered category. Thank you. The sheltered count, just as rigorous, this information is gathered from our homeless management information system. This is the data system wherein shelters and transitional housing and safe haven programs collect data operationally daily for reporting requirements and coordination efforts. That information is pulled on January 22nd to give us our shelter count. For agencies, approximately 13 programs that are not participating in that, we get that information from them directly. And overall, this helps us to, this information, the sheltered information, also helps with the estimation for the unsheltered. So I'm going to get into the view of the data and show you those top line counts. This is a comparison. Our comparisons here focus on the 2022 point in time count and housing inventory count and the 2024 count. And that's because that was the last time that we had a full point in time count. I think if we go back just 2 more slides, please. One more. Oh, I think we're going forward. We are having some technical difficulties, folks. There we go. Well, we'll just start here. So that first data point there, that 16,385 figure, that is the estimated total count of individuals experiencing homelessness on the night of the point in time count. This is 23% higher than the estimated number of individuals counted in 2022. There is more detailed information online at our website if you want to further drill down and into the information here that I'll be providing. You can see here we have a comparison of our unsheltered to our sheltered count and definitions here. Sheltered includes those who are staying in shelters, transitional housing, and safe haven programs. I'll say that one more time because oftentimes sheltered can intuitively feel like we're just counting shelters, but this does include transitional housing and legacy safe haven projects. And the unsheltered count is what most of us think of as those living on the streets, but it also includes those who are living in places not meant for human habitation, and of course those who are living in their vehicles, that vehicle residency population. And you can see there we had an increase of 3% overall from last year in that unsheltered. Oh, excuse me, that sheltered.
Hey
Hi.
Daniel, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Do we
Which
need to start
slide
over?
would you?
This worked.
Yes.
Yeah, there. Oh,
What slide are you needing to be on?
the one just before. Thank you.
There we go.
And sorry, just misstated there. This is not a 50%, 60%, excuse me. You can see the split between the unsheltered and the sheltered in our data set. So these are just percentages on the breakouts between the two. So slightly but notably more unsheltered from last year to this year in that comparison. Next slide. And then here is the point in time count data by race. Our team thought it would be important to look at this and focus in on this for today's presentation. You can see in 2022, we had done the percentages and compared that to 2024 here on this bar chart here. And that dotted line represents the 2022 census data. So you can compare the representation in the census to the representation in the point in time count here. I do want to note that percentages do not give the volume of counts. So the total counts here are going to be higher, although the percentages may look similar. For example, with our Indian, Alaskan Native, and Indigenous identifying population, it shows 7%. That does not mean that they were both the same number. I just want to point that out. But percentages help us to compare, and that census data helps us to look at proportionality with the general population. Thank you. Next slide. And here again, we have those who gave us their gender identity, and we have counts here between last year and this year. And here you can see the figures not in percentage form, but in count form, which gives you a more overall understanding of the increase rather than the percentage breakout. I do want to say that HUD changed in October of 2023, the racial categories. Forgot to mention that just earlier. Hispanic and Latino has now been integrated in the racial category. And we have additional gender identities from HUD this year. So for anybody who may be wondering how we chose these categories, KCRHA did not choose these. These are prescribed to us by the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD. Thank you. Next slide. Another important population here for us, family and youth homelessness. Here you can see the changes from year to year. What is notable about this slide is that there are decreases in the counts in each category from last year to this year. Again, this is not large changes, but again, notable changes for our youth and young adult households and families. And just a definition there for youth households. Those are households where all members of the household are under the age of 25.
Excuse me, it looks like Christina wants to ask a question.
Yeah, I'm happy to engage in questions now. I know with time, I'll leave it to the facilitator if we should take questions now or later.
Why are genders
Really
not
quickly, Christina, can
in
I have a moment,
percentages,
please?
but racial categories are in percentages? Is there any rationale or reasoning behind that? Somebody asked.
I would like to actually tackle that one. I want to leave Daniel time to finish, and we may be able to have a couple minutes of actual question and answer before we have to take a small break. So hold on to that question. Daniel, I would like you to proceed and let us know when you're done.
Thank you, Christina.
Thank you for that question. And yes, I will be able to answer that. This is our additional vulnerabilities and communities data here. Just looking at my notes here, want to make sure I don't miss anything. Yeah, so these vulnerabilities are present in the general population, as many of you know and are aware of. I just want to make a note here that these conditions are exacerbated for folks living in shelters and who are living unsheltered. Here you can see 12% of adults, this is adults only for all these populations, identified as survivors of domestic violence. 28% of the total adult population in this year's count identified as having a serious mental illness, and 35% identified as having a substance use disorder of some kind. And 49% of total adults were chronically homeless in this year's count. And 6% of the total adult population identified as veterans. The companion report to the point in time count, next slide, please, is the housing inventory count. This is, if there's two things that are really important about the point in time count and and what we do there, is looking at how many folks are living sheltered and unsheltered, and then what is the capacity of the system? How many beds do we have? How many programs do we have? And what does that utilization look like? So the next three slides are going to be the data on those. So you can see here that in total we had 380 housing and shelter programs in the system in 2024, and you can see the changes there from the last 3 years. And shelters are exactly what you think, those emergency beds for folks who need them. Transitional housing, those tend to be 2-year time limited programs offering shelter and case management in most cases. If I were going to distill it down to just one description there. And then other permanent housing are permanent housing programs that have eligibility criteria that may not be as restrictive as our permanent supportive, which is PSH. This is permanent housing with supportive services, case management. And then our rapid rehousing program, simply put, those are our beds that are rental assistance, that use rental assistance for those who are experiencing literal homelessness. The majority are those fleeing from domestic violence and those who are just needing, rapid rehousing is that full term there. Next slide, please. The housing inventory count by data. So everyone, this is the total amount of beds that we have in our system for those experiencing homelessness. The total is 18,509 distributed amongst shelters, transitional housing, other types of permanent housing, and permanent supportive housing, as well as those rapid rehousing beds. We did have severe weather during the point in time count, and you can see that that increased the total beds by 786 during that time. On top of that, And then the utilization, this is also very important. That yellow line, I want to call that out because that may look um, a little awkward there, 100%. The way that rapid rehousing and that utilization is computed is really, we look at those who are staying in their own rental unit at that time. And so those beds are frankly always full because we are really just looking at those who are in those beds. So that one is a little awkward fitting, but that's how HUD asks us to calculate those beds. And then you can see there increases and decreases from the various intervention types, shelter, transitional housing, and again, those other project types. Now, I do want to say here that in these last few slides, it's just says shelter, but this includes safe havens. Safe havens are a project type, but they are a legacy one. There are no more safe havens beds being produced at this time, but we do in King County have beds that do remain and are operating as safe havens. So that's inclusive of both of those. Key takeaways. From this presentation, I just want to remind everyone, this is an estimate of those who are sheltered and unsheltered. The methodology that we used is accurate, and it is a well understood methodology used in the social sciences, respondent-driven sampling. Our partners at the University of Washington were very diligent in executing this methodology with us this year, as well as in 2022. And we took community feedback and made those improvements this year, and we'll continue to make improvements as we get feedback, as we've gotten feedback and input this year. And with that, I think that pretty much ends the presentation. Again, these are just the top line counts, and I will gladly take questions if there's still time, Marvin. Oh, excuse me. Last slide here. Yes.
Okay.
This is important. So anything that wasn't answered here, or for those of you out in the general public that might be watching, looking for further data, more comprehensive data, in July we will be finishing up our final report. This is going to include all the details on all the hub locations, our volunteer recruitment plan, the technologies that we used, our operations and logistics planning, and the cost and how we did our analysis, and then full trend mock-ups for each one of our subpopulations, families, singles, and children. And later in July, we're going to be having a community data roundtable. This is really our way of engaging the general public with this information. So we'll have details coming out on the date and location shortly. And I do invite any members of the public, KCRHA, and the COC board to please join us at that data roundtable where you can learn more and meet and greet those that conducted the point in time count and the housing inventory count this year. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel. And I want to say thank you for giving us that. There was a lot of information. It was really quick. I would like to invite people to join our Assistant Performance Committee. And I didn't catch the date of the next review. Was it in July?
The roundtable?
The roundtable, yes.
When's the date of the roundtable?
The date of the roundtable is not yet decided. We are closing in on a location that's going to have be as accessible as possible. So we're waiting to hear back on that before we have pinned down that date. But it's going to be towards the end of July.
Right. We had a couple folks that wanted to have questions, but we need to take a break at this time. We're going to take a 5-minute break. If you have a question, put it in the
Mr.
chat.
Chair, point. I want to make sure that this agenda item hasn't been closed because there were a couple of, okay, good. Because there's questions.
I have a feeling it might take longer than we actually gave time for, but I do want to give the captioner the break that we have structured into our meeting setting. Is that okay? If that's not okay with the board, I will take suggestions on a path forward.
I'm okay with the break, just as long as we weren't dragging out the time to move to the break and then move on, because we have some good questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll see you everybody back at 3:26. I had a time to come back.
start?
Thank you. Welcome back, everyone. As we continue to move forward, I want to go back to our Q&A over the presentation we just heard. Daniel's on the line. First up, board member plans. Dorsey.
Thank you. And thank you for the presentation, Daniel. I'm expecting you anticipated not coming before a board this passionate about the unhoused and not being able to talk about that 3% change and the unsheltered population. I'd like to understand what your data is saying, especially since there's already been one narrative in the media that suggests that it is a failure of the homeless services system. So what is your data showing as to why there are more people outside of shelter now? Thank you.
You're muted, Daniel.
Ursula, thank you for that question and the opportunity to respond to that. Just one small correction, just for posterity. I think you meant 23% increase, not 3%. Yeah, that is a notable rise. Right now, we are doing our full PIT analysis and report. So I don't have a full analysis that tells us exactly why that increased. You can imagine a multitude of data sets and whatnot that you would need to pour over to figure out exactly why. What I can say, and something that we've been talking a lot about, is taking that number and comparing it to population growth. And we looked at that, a sample of that, and that does bring it down quite a few percentage points if you look at that. So in our full PIT report, we will be putting out that information. I think it's important to note that we had a rise in unsheltered homelessness, and we really have to take into consideration what is happening contextually across King County. Yeah, I'll kind of leave it there. I know that's probably not the most complete answer. What I will say is we're working to try to answer those questions.
Respectfully, that wasn't the figure I was asking about. So you showed a slide that showed 100% of the unhoused population in 2022. I might be getting that number wrong. And the unhoused population in this last count. You showed that, a certain percentage was in shelter and a certain percentage was unsheltered. Since the last time count, 3% more unhoused people are either choosing or not able to go into a shelter, according to the number you showed us. Why is that?
So, sorry. Daniel, you're on mute. Daniel, you're still muted. Sorry.
I just want to, Dorsal, I apologize. I wanted to make sure that I understand what slide. This was the 2022-2024 unsheltered, sheltered stacked bar chart, I think is what you're referencing.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, okay, great. Thank you. Yes. So in 2022, really what this is, that bar chart is, just to give another brief description, and then get into your question. In 2022, 57% of the total folks who were counted in the point in time count, 57% were unsheltered and 43% were sheltered. This year, in 2024, 60% were unsheltered and 40% were sheltered. 60% unsheltered, 40% sheltered. So that's really just showing how that group percentage-wise expanded by 3%, not a 3% growth. Just to say that exactly there. That shift in the sheltered and unsheltered, it's a really contextualized by the number of beds that we have too. So just having to take that in consideration. That is also something that we're looking at in our point in time count report. So we'll be doing further analysis on the number of beds that we had and the changes in those beds as it relates to last year, the 2022 count and the 2024 count. again, I think at the heart of the question is why more unsheltered? Again, that's an analysis that has not been completed yet.
One thing that I think is also important in that context, Daniel, and to Dorsal's point, there was a surge of government funding for COVID, and a lot of that funding started to end in 2022 and 2023. And while our local governments and the state government were able to find some additional funding to cover a lot of the expanded COVID funds, there were some COVID funds that the gap of what was created wasn't being able to be met. So some things, because of the COVID funding ending, we did see a loss of expanded shelter due to that. So that's also something that I'm guessing will likely come up in the further analysis regarding the housing inventory count around why we see decreases is due to the sunsetting of a lot of those federal COVID dollars.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yeah, funding, emergency solutions, grant CV, all of those funding sources associated with COVID. Yes, that's a really good point.
Christina? Christina?
Hold on,
I'm
we
here.
have a-
We are.
Yes.
Your question for Daniel?
I don't remember anymore. I have a brain injury. I don't remember.
I remember for you. I remember, yes. So I myself am recovering from COVID, so I feel very happy that I remembered. The race chart is by percentages and the gender chart was by counts. And the reason why we chose percentages by race is that we are still diving into the best way to represent the racial breakout with HUD's additional racial categories. And the reason why it makes it challenging, which is a good thing because it actually gives us an opportunity to see Hispanic Latinx, Latino population more clearly, is that for every racial category that had previous to October 2023, let's take Hawaiian Pacific Islander. Now they added a second racial category, Hawaiian Pacific Islander and Latino. So in that way, we have crossover of those who identify as being the original race categories, and now that also identify as being Hispanic, Latino, Latina, or Latinx. So in that way, we are really still trying to figure out, and HUD didn't really give any instructions to us on how they do that, but we're working with state partners and our research partners to figure out what is the best way to represent that. And right now, what we landed on was using percentages. And with gender, it's a lot simpler to just give counts. We didn't have the same level of complexity. Good question. Really good question.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Daniel? I see it's in the attendees.
Team White. Yes, Maria.
TT's about to
TT.
jump up. Yeah, I won't bring her up. And let her ask.
TT. On.
Hi, sorry, can you
Hi,
hear?
TT.
I don't know if you guys. Hi, my name is
Hi.
TT White. My question for Daniel is, for the point in time count, the family portion of it, was that strategy drawn up by KCRHA or was that given directly from HUD and we had to utilize that strategy as far as how to get a head count of families experiencing homelessness?
Yeah.
And then my second question, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I know we're on a crunch for time. My second question is, do you feel that the way you guys conducted the head count for families this year was productive, or if not productive, was it the most efficient way to find all the families who are experiencing homelessness? Because families are different than individuals experiencing homelessness. And I just am sorry if my question is dumb. I'm just trying to get like a good picture in my mind of how these things work. And I just kind of want to learn a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah, and I think I think it's a really important question, and really the family phone line in particular is a response to feedback that's been given since the last unsheltered count. And yes, we did engage a lot of different partners in this, and different providers who work with these subpopulations, Mary's Place in particular, and found this to be a way to a strategy for improvement, having that call in line. Now, that said, no family or group that identified as a family were turned away at any of the 19 hub locations. So they were also counted at those various hub locations. And I do want to just mention as well that not only was that improvement, there was an improvement targeted for families, but also for veterans and for female identifying individuals. So really trying to turn input into action in our methodology and execute that. There's certainly lessons to be learned and improvements to be made. So I don't think there's any work done in that area. And I do invite in the chat or in any channel that you want to get that feedback back to us. We would take that and iterate for the next unsheltered count. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Are there any other questions at this time? All righty. We're going to, again, thank you, Daniel. Look forward to hearing more.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all.
On the way out the door, though, I'm just going to drop, since I probably won't get another chance from this seat. One of the biggest things about doing the pit count never had to do with whether actually the numbers are right or every percentage was covered, but was bringing our county or our region together to actually engage in an activity that shared knowledge of our homeless response system and homelessness response for our unhoused neighbors across a very vast area. So wonder if that ever gets taken into account, that we figure out a way not for organizations that are funded and organizations that don't get funding actually get a chance to work together to understand the complexities of the needs of our unhoused neighbors.
And Dorsal, on that note, I do want to just say again, a thank you to the volunteers, those with lived experience that stepped up to help us with this work, and for our sub-regional planners that put a lot of effort into engaging the communities across King County so that we could carefully select those hub locations and execute this year's point in time count. And of course, for the support from the board, all the members and all the KCRHA staff and those in the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dan. So moving right along, up next is a system performance update. Camera. I can't see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi. I'll make this brief. This is basically just an overview of what we discussed at the last public meeting for the System Performance Committee, where we discussed developing new local metrics according in alignment with the Full Frame Initiative's Wellbeing Blueprint. And the two presenters that came, they took our idea, kind of molded over, and then came back to us with a few questions that might help us, in our future like project evaluation activities and things like that. And so they broke it up into two sets. And I think the person-centered set should be really geared towards organizations that want to improve their own customer service feedback, program evaluations. Which I think is necessary throughout the system, but also the metrics specific to organizations and how they do their business. So some of the questions that they posed are supposed to be measured measuring how well projects are aligning with the 5 domains of well-being, such as how are we like actually supporting people's social connectedness to their communities, to their peers, safety, stability, sense of influence, which they call mastery, being able to see the outcomes of your efforts, and then meaningful access to resources. So that's what I'm hoping we can like evaluate our system on. And so some of the specific questions for projects that we would hope to use for analysis in the future would be some questions like, does this measure, whatever that is, how well organizations are paying attention to well-being in their workplaces? How well are organizations mitigating the trade-offs forced by some of our system policies and practices? That one is a huge one because trade-offs are often like the default that our systems put people into, because we tend to be more prescriptive in how we want to see successful outcomes be measured. And so I want our system to start thinking about how to minimize trade-offs so that people are able to move through the system at a pace of their own choosing in a way that feels most comfortable and productive to them, and that they can define their own definition of success. And it's not like prescriptive based on how our system defines it. Other questions include, how well do organizations engage those closest to the harms in the design and implementation of programs and processes? Does this measure what the organizations want measured or what the community wants measured? Does this measure how well organizations are collaborating with partners and with other with folks with lived experience specifically? And then how does this measure how well organizations are leveraging what is already working in their community? So building on the assets that we already have, rather than reinventing the wheel every time a problem comes up or creating a new program. How are we tapping into the wisdom and the insight and the resource that exist already in our community? How can we build on those and uplift those and enhance those, so that we're creating abundance rather than relying on the scarcity mindset that has defined our homeless response system since forever? So I'm trying to get us to think differently about how we do the work, but also how can we shift from like this deficiency based system that we've been operating in and move it towards one that is like more positive, like and one that actually pushes the system to be more responsive to people rather than like politicians. Like I want to put people over profit, people over paper, like that's how the system should operate. We need to be putting the pressure on the system and the folks who are in charge of developing policy and legislation. They really should be kind of taking a lesson from us, because we're actually trying to work on solutions, not preserving power differentials or being prescriptive in how we solve homelessness locally. So those are some of the things that we yes, I can do that, Elizabeth. So I think those are the things that we're going to be starting to explore more in the System Performance Committee. In our next public meeting is on the 20th from 2 to 4 p.m. We're going to be working on a bunch of things. So we'll be voting on, we'll be continuing to work on this. We'll also be looking into like bringing in more SBC members. I think there's a couple of applications that have come in that we'll be voting on. And then, oh man, there were some other things, but they slipped out my mind. Ruby, do you happen to remember what we discussed earlier? That I'm like, it's slipping my mind right now because my mind has just been totally engrossed in well-being.
Yeah, no, totally. That is your realm. So I'm happy to, it would be a good segue too, because I think what else we're going to be voting on is what we've been working on in the NOFO work group. So if that is what we're going into next, I think that's kind of where we're leading. So.
Did someone say NOFO?
Yes, we were. Thank you, Tamara. Hand it over to Kelsey. Maybe we get a few NOFO updates.
Yes. Hi, all. Kelsey Beckmeyer, she, her pronouns, Program Performance Manager with KCRHA. The NOFO is one of my favorite activities. It's very complex and complicated, and I really enjoy it. It's also very frustrating. So a few things that I want to update the board on, things to look forward to. The NOFO planning work group has been meeting weekly, working on, first we were working on the values and priorities, which we reviewed with you all a couple months ago. And based on that, we have been making some updates to rating and key indicators of non-HMIS information. So the HUD standards for the NOFO require that as we are doing the rating, and so that is like objective evaluation of programs, a certain percentage of the rating criteria must be based on system performance, objective data criteria, that is HMIS data. We are not touching that. This year, we are looking at evaluating the rating criteria based on our values and some of our equity areas. So we have reviewed the questions as well as the rating criteria. And for you all, what's really important is the rating criteria for Housing First, for racial equity, for LGBTQIA Two-Spirit Plus equity, for program priority and population priority. We have been going through that collectively in like heightened detail to really enhance the scoring and how we are evaluating renewing COC projects. We worked on finalizing that today at our noon meeting, and that is going first to the System Performance Committee, as they are our data crew. So the System Performance Committee, as an arm of the COC board, is going to review that on June 20th at their June 20th meeting. I will be presenting kind of the changes that we had. And from there, should the System Performance Committee affirm this criteria, we will send it to the COC board to review, and seeking a vote on that in your July meeting. So the aim will be to get that updated rating criteria to you all. My hope is by the end of the day on June 20th. After it is hopefully voted on by the System Performance Committee. Otherwise, hoping to get it to you by the end of the day on to the 21st, because, you know, timelines. And we'll also be including kind of a comparison document that will show this was the 2023 criteria. These were the changes that were made. This is the 24 criteria. We are really excited about it. We've had some really just fabulous conversations and work on this to ensure that, you know, the way we're evaluating, particularly around equity questions, is more robust than it has been in prior years. So looking forward to sharing that with you. The NOFO should be published by HUD come, my prediction is July 8th. And I'm saying this in a publicly recorded meeting. That is my prediction, is July 8th. My thinking is that it will also be due September 28th. These are my guesses.
We're guessing the due date.
Ruby is writing this down. So this is when we will have quite a bit of ask from the board regarding reviewing of materials. There's a lot of kind of HUD mandated deadlines and timelines, and it moves so quick. And I will do my best to provide as much detail and information as quickly as I can. We have 60 some programs that are renewing. We don't know what the bonus opportunities are yet this year. We don't know that until the NOFO is published. So again, this moves it moves really quickly. So anytime that there are questions, please bring them Tamara, Ruby, Dorsal and Martha are all on the planning work group. So also bringing your questions to the four of them to bring to the planning space. We welcome input on that. We'll also be going through the consolidated application. July and August will really be focused on the project renewals for COC providers. And then September is where we'll really focus on the consolidated application, which is as the like what are we doing as the kind of broader community. So lots of work will happen, and yeah, looking forward to hitting go on NOFO season.
Well, thank you, Kelsey. Any questions? Ready. I am going to ask if we can move flip-flop our thank you and goodbye to outgoing board members with our quick process, I hope, of nominating interim co-chair so that your business meeting can happen as it should in July until the full board is set and you have open nominations. Are there any nominations for an interim co-chair? I would love to nominate Ruby Romero, board member Romero. Christina?
There you go.
Christina? You're unmuted.
What do I say?
You can second, or you can, or if you have another nomination, we can just, this one may die. The nomination at the moment is Ruby Romero as the interim co-chair until the full board is set and you have.
Captioning's a little lagging for me, so I apologize.
No worries.
She's looking just a second.
Well, that's a second. Thank you.
No, I'm just wait for her. I know.
Captioning is lagging. So
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. So any discussion?
Yeah, I wanted to nominate Ruby because Ruby has done a fantastic job taking the time to learn the position, to learn about things from Robert's rules, as well as learning from our history, as well as about the ILA, as well as the other positions, not other positions, but the other boards and stuff, and really taking the time to research and really getting in there. I've been really impressed with her taking the time to educate on different things, and just really impressed with how she's gone about and really taking the time to learn all this stuff. I'm just really impressed with her gung-ho attitude, and how much she has really jumped in on this stuff has just been fantastic. The amount of energy she has put in this, and just really her willingness to really learn from this stuff. And some of the stuff is really not easy. It's really complicated, especially Robert's rules. My gosh, it took me 25 years to get to the level I'm at with Robert's rules, and really jumping on also on the ADA type stuff. That's stuff that really is not easy. It's, it's difficult stuff. So been really impressed with it. And so I'd like to nominate Ruby. And I see Lee's as well has nominated Ruby as well. It sounded like Tamara's also backed that up as well.
Well, thank you. Is there any other discussion? Alex, the roll call.
Do you nominate other people? Can we nominate other people?
No.
No, okay. Oh, okay.
Hold on, you all can in a month. You all can nominate
my bad.
yourselves.
Sorry, I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
It's an interim co-chair, so
Yeah,
that you can actually work next week.
I see.
Okay, so the vote is to nominate Ruby Romero as the standing co-chair and interim.
Until the board is fully set and full elections can be made for offices of.
Point of information, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
What's the time frame for the internship?
Oh, I probably was not speaking long enough. The full board will be set next month with new incoming members. It'll be up to the board to determine when they'd like to have a ballot election. It allows the regular business of the board to take place until that time.
So I think about 2 months, because we want to give the board some time to settle in, and then.
I really hate trying to lock us
Yeah.
in on a time period when it's up to the board's ability to actually do, nominate their chairs and move forward with the work. If they take 3 months, if they take a month, it's okay. Did that answer the question, Dorsal?
Yes, it did. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right.
Okay, doing roll call. Please state if you are voting yay or nay. Patricia Sam.
Yay.
Thank you. Tamara Bellman.
Yay, yay, yay.
Freeze. Kenyatta Carol Hillman. Lise Castro.
It's about chat.
Yep. Jaja Floyd. Marvin Futrell.
Yes.
Antoinette Lambert. Dorsal Plants.
Wholehearted yes.
Martha Sassarosi.
Yay.
Christina Sawicki. Yay. Sherry Tillman.
Woohoo! Yay.
Yay.
Is Lacey still on the call?
Is Lacey here? Okay, with 8 yeses, Ruby, the motion is passed for Ruby to be interim co-chair.
Well, thank you. So to take us home,
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Ruby will be taking you home next month. I wanted to, staff has a few words that they'd like to say before we break. Folks, it is 3:59. If you stay on to the conclusion, I don't think it'll be more than a couple of minutes, and we will thank you for it.
Thank you, Marvin. So Kelsey Beckmeyer, she, her pronouns, program performance manager with KCRHA. I have been working with the board for the past 2.5 years, I think, since I started at KCRHA. And it has been a wonderful experience engaging with all of you, and just want to give my deep appreciation and thanks to those board members whose terms are coming to an end. It has been a wonderful engagement and learning opportunity, I think, as both a board and a new kind of government entity as a COC lead, figuring out our path and journey together, which, doesn't always go smoothly. And we find ways to continually work better together, and just deeply appreciate that. And want to make sure that you are not leaving without our deep thanks and appreciation for the work that you have brought and the contributions that you've made in this space. And so on behalf of, KCRJ staff, just a thank you. And we look forward to just continuing to engage and be in relationship through other ways of working together for supporting the COC.
Thank you. I will at this, see, that was quick.
Wow.
It
I
is
would like
for,
to say something.
yes, Ruby.
Okay, sorry. I'll raise my hand. No, I just wanted to say that, thank you so much for the mentoring. That's the word. Thank you so much for being a great mentor to everybody in this space. And I hope I'm speaking for everybody when I say that, the short break that we will have, as you being a member on the board, hopefully we can make sure that you do come back when we do the new selection process, all that sort of stuff, and you'll still be very active, I'm sure, and I can't wait.
I'll be at System Performance Committee on.
There we go, that's what I like to
I'll
hear.
be at the NOFO meeting
Yeah.
the very week after.
That's right, he's still gonna be very much in the space, so it's not a goodbye.
I'll be double dipping.
It's a hello in other spaces, so just thank you so much, Marvin and Leeves and I believe Sherry. Yes,
And support Dr. Sam with the governance committee. We'll have some
and then
fun.
that is a great aspect, like, please stay involved with the system performance committee and with the cross-cutting policy work group, coordinated entry committee. And hopefully we're gonna be standing up the COC charter selection process committee work group, whatever it is, very soon. And we'll have that scope of work out to you guys, like hopefully by next month. But I don't know, we'll see.
All right, thank you for being. It's my joy. It is 4:02. This concludes our regular monthly meeting. Oh, Sherry Tillman, Sherry.
Oh, I was just gonna say thank you. Cause nobody said anything that's leaving, but anyway, thank you. Thank you. And yeah, so we'll just wait on the charter and see, but I do appreciate everyone, and it has been a nice to meet also the new members and getting to know everybody. That has been really nice. So yeah, I just want to thank you.
Thanks,
Sherry.
It is 4:03. Last call. Anything else good for the order? Well, thank you, board members, for expending a little extra time with us today. Look forward to seeing everybody from the other side of the fence next month. All right. With that, we will close the meeting for June 5th,
Bye, everybody.
2024.